Good morning. Welcome to Legal Live. Sorry, starting a few minutes late this morning. I had a few things to get done before I could come on live and all that technical stuff. So this morning, every week, let's back up. My name is Michael Glassford. For those of you who don't follow me, I'm an attorney, estate planning attorney with Legal Inc. PLLC Estate Planning. And every week I come on live, whether it's here on my page or in my group page, Dare to Dream Big, or maybe some other avenue. I come on and just we talk a little bit about the issues and a little bit deeper into something that really affects your family and your life, and then these videos will show up later on my YouTube channel, which the link there, Dare to Dream Bigger. So when this becomes a YouTube video, you can hit the button, subscribe, follow us, and just be a part of this community. Dare to Dream Big. So, hey, Cato, Nicole, Teresa. This morning, kind of reminiscing, I jumped on Facebook this morning and saw a picture of myself with Jason Alexander from 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, for whatever reason, he was down in Utah probably for Sundance, but he also had this thing he was doing with Utah Valley University. And he was having a meeting at my best friend and business partner's restaurant. He was with Chad Pritchard and the chef's table back then. And Chad called me and he said, "You'll never guess who's at the restaurant right now." And I said, "Who?" And he says, "It's George." And I freaked out. I'm like, "What? Can I come?" And there was this dramatic pause because I don't think Chad knew how to answer me. Then he came back on the line, and I was ready for a disappointing rejection. And Chad says, "It's a free restaurant." I'm like, "Oh yeah, huh?" So I jumped in the car, called my wife. I'm like, "Hey, come down and see Jason Alexander," and she wasn't too into that. So I'm gonna go. So I went, and I was alone, so that was a little bit awkward because Jason was over there with a few associates, and Chad's sister had the same idea. She came also to try to meet Jason Alexander, and so Chad put us together at a table, and at that time we really didn't know each other, so we just kind of did some small talk, got to know each other as we sat at this dinner table. More or less stalking Jason Alexander in a very polite, respectful way. But we were there, hopefully, to have the opportunity to get to know him, to talk to him, to hang out with him a little bit. And their meeting went rather long. And hey, Heidi. And so eventually, when the meeting was done, Chad went over and he's like, "Hey, I would really like to introduce you to my people." And Jason was very gracious, and he accepted the invitation. So he came over and shook my hand and Hillary's hand, and the staff and everyone that was at chef's table that night got to take selfies with him. He taught us how to take a true selfie. I mean, he's not very tall, and he's a very small person. And if you jump on my Facebook page, my post, you can see me in comparison to him. I was very large at the time. At that time I probably weighed 370 pounds. And so I was very large and very unhealthy. And why am I sharing this story this morning on Legal Live? Well, I'm talking about preparation, and I'm talking about what we need to do to make sure that our family and ourselves are protected in the event that something happens to us. Now, back then, I'll just finish the story. It was a really nice conversation, really nice getting to know Jason Alexander. He's very intelligent and very kind, and spent more time than he needed to with us, just talking with us and getting to know us, and then letting us get to know him. So that was a neat moment in my life, and it was kind of the springboard for the beginning of my health journey. And the reason that, again, I wanted to share that was because I knew I wasn't in a good place. All the medical charts and statistics said that I was morbidly obese. And I felt stuck because I was running every day, a mile to 3 miles every day. I was eating what they said I should be eating. I was competing. I was signing up for competition, so I'd motivate myself to continue to do the running. I had been running Tough Mudders, which are 12-mile mud runs at 350 pounds. I had been running half marathons. I've been doing the things that they said would get me to my destination, and I was still unhealthy and very large and very unhappy with where I was. And during the course of many years, I was able to find some answers and to find some tools and to find some things that changed my health and changed my ability to maintain my health. That's for a different video. But the reason that I bring it up is back then I wasn't prepared for what would have happened if my heart would have decided, we've had enough, or if my body was like, and we're tired and I can't do this anymore. I didn't have a trust in place. I'd been practicing law for about 10 plus years at that time, and I've been doing a lot of different areas of law. I worked in family law and criminal law, and I was a prosecutor, and I've always done estate planning, and I did business law, and in Missouri I was even doing traffic law. So there was a lot of things, a lot of experience in my background, and I was of the opinion, like many, that I hadn't built my legacy yet. I hadn't created my wealth yet, not like I wanted to. And so I hadn't even gone to the trouble. I had a will, but I hadn't gone to the trouble of making a trust or any kind of extenuating plan for my family in the event that this health issue that I had, that I didn't get in front of it. And, I say had, that's incorrect. I still have it. I will always be a little bit behind the eight ball. I always have to eat like 500 calories less than someone of my same size and stature. And I know that, and that's always going to be a part of who I am, but that was part of my health journey to learn that and to recognize that and to change how I saw food and how my relationship with food and exercise. So, hey, Spencer, how's it going? So I had a will, and I thought I was good. And in the last 5 years, I've done some research and some legal soul searching, and I was listening. I'm jumping all over the place, and there'll be a rhyme and a reason to it. I was listening to an audio last night and a gentleman was talking about financial planning, and he broke it into 3 legs. He broke it into legal and insurance and then investing in financial planning. And he said, all too often when we go to legal or insurance or an investor or financial planner, we're going to get that one piece of the pie. He shared that the analogy with the 3 wise blind men, and they're all brought up to an elephant, and the first blind man touches the trunk and he determines that it's this kind of a tree, and the second man touches back leg and he determines it's a different kind of tree, and the third man touches the tail, and I don't know what tree he determines from that. But they're all having little pieces of the pie. They don't see the ginormous elephant in front of them. And the speaker was making the connection that when we go to legal, when we go to insurance, when we go to financial, we can find ourselves getting that very small view. And I was thinking about that, and it's true to some degree. And I wanted to think if I'm guilty of doing that. But really, when I work with my clients, I explain that whether I'm building a trust or building a will or building whatever vehicle is going to be best for them, it really is a vehicle. I'm like the GM. I'm building the car, and you come to me and we build it to spec, or we build the car that you're interested in, and I roll it off the line, and you get in that car, that vehicle, and you drive away. And once you're driving the vehicle, then it is up to your investing partners, and it is up to your insurance partners to how you use and drive that vehicle. So I gave myself a few bonus points for following that, not following the creed of the speaker last night. And why do I share that? Well, because each one of those legs is important, and the legal leg breaks into 2 pieces, which one is taxes. And I'm not a tax expert, but the tax piece of your financial plan is critical. Pay your taxes, pay them on time. Don't pay more than what you should pay, but know the rules and pay them, because you don't need governmental agencies as your enemy. That's not something you need in your life. The piece that I handle in legal is the trusts. And so let's go back to my self in 2015 when I was 375 pounds and I only had a will, and I thought I was good. I thought I was good. I was covered because I had a will, and I didn't have a trust because I didn't think I had enough. Wasn't ready to have a trust yet. I wasn't that kind of person, or didn't have that kind of portfolio. And so, you naturally walk it through. Okay, I have a will. So what does that mean? So probate is a whole topic unto itself. But we go to probate because we've passed away and we own things. Things are in our name, and we're no longer there to sign to transfer those things to someone else's name. And a big misconception is that a will is the transfer, and that's not so. A will is the desire that something be transferred. But when you pass away, your property is still in your name. The will is just giving a roadmap to the court, to the probate court, of how to transfer and giving them permission to transfer it. So to die without a will, the probate court has to figure out by the statutes, by the laws, okay, was there a wife, was there a husband, was there a partner, was there children, and we're going to figure all that out. And by the statutes, we're going to pass it through the process. A will is going to eliminate the government's control over who gets what, because we've now said who gets what in the process. So the common denominator of both of those situations, whether you die with a will or without a will, is that they're still going through the probate process. So a will doesn't necessarily avoid probate. In fact, a poorly written will, there's a few outfits out there that'll give you your free will and just write you a will for free. Those wills, I don't know how to say this. There's a lot of attorneys out there that love those wills because they know when you pass away, they're going to make a lot of money probating that will because it was ambiguous at best. And ambiguity costs families time, money, emotion, and it makes attorneys a lot of money because we have to go in and help the family decide what's going on and what's best. Now, there's no nefariousness going on. There's no malfeasance going on. It's the family has found themselves in this situation, and an attorney is there to help, and hope they do. But it's going to come at a cost. It's going to come, and no one's going to be complaining. Attorneys aren't going to be complaining about the money that they're going to be able to make from that. So why do I share all that? Well, because why even sit down and spend some time thinking about a will and directing your belongings and giving some instruction, only to invite the government to play with that? It's like, hey, I'm going to have a party celebrating my life when I pass away, but make sure that the government comes to the party. Make sure that they have a special invitation stamped with my signature and a notary and 2 witnesses. Make sure that they get a play, that attorneys get to make money on it, that the family gets to go to court when they're grieving my death. Hopefully they're grieving my death. That they get to spend time and emotional costs in that process. Make sure that happens, because really, if all we do is write a will, a last will and testament, whatever you want to call it, that's what we're doing. We're inviting the government into our family's business at the time when our family needs each other the most, and they need the outside world to be outside. And so what's the answer to that? The answer is, hey, Thomas, how's it going? The answer is trust. You can build a trust, and we'll dive deeper into trust probably next week because I don't want to keep these legal lives too long. You can create a trust that allows you to completely circumnavigate that probate process, to completely push that away and quiet the world in a time when your family needs your family most, when they're grieving someone that they've lost. And so the trust will have already transferred all the property. There is no transfers to be taking place. The trust owns it. Then the trust can decide based on what your wishes were, how things go. If you left a surviving spouse, then he or she has some help. They're not alone. They don't have to make these decisions. In light of everything that's going on, they don't have to make hard choices because the choices have already been made. Now they're just following a plan. How much easier is that? How much better is that? And I know that on a lot of people's minds, including mine, one of the reasons why back in 2015, when I was morbidly obese, uh, I thought I don't have enough to have a trust. I don't have enough to justify the cost of a trust. I don't have enough assets to put into a trust. If I went to a trust attorney, which I was, but go with me on this. If I went to another attorney to create a trust for myself at that time, they would laugh at me, right? No, they won't laugh at you. But that's how I felt, right? Those were the negative loops that I was dealing with. And first off the bat, a trust is definitely an asset protection tool, but it's also an asset creation tool. I don't have anywhere to put my wealth until I build the vessel to put it in. So that when I created my trust a few years, mark that, after that experience with Jason Alexander, still took me a few years to figure it out, that it's a wealth creation tool. The second that I built that trust, I started creating wealth. Wow, what an amazing concept. But I know the other two barriers to trust planning and developing are time and money. If we get past the first one, we're okay, maybe we do need a trust, but then there's there's a lot of time going to an attorney's office and spending time with them and writing the trust and planning and signing and doing all the things. And then there's the money aspect. Trust can be thousands of dollars. They can be a lot of time with your attorney. On average, when I sit down with a client or a couple and we do the education piece and the planning piece, the drafting piece, the signing piece, I come back for a third meeting and do some work with the family and just start creating their true legacy. Your legacy, money is great to leave behind, but your true legacy is your story. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. But at the end of that process, we've spent 10 to 16 hours of legal time, and that adds up in the money aspect. So I understand that there's a barrier to the trust planning. And so this is what I'm working on this last couple months, December and January. I had a really good friend come to me and made some suggestions, and I took those to heart. And so now I offer two kinds of trust planning. I offer a standard trust plan, and you can check out the website at www.legallifeplan.com/trusts to see what that standard plan is. And really what we've done is we've built a vehicle that will match most people's situations in a very basic and a very standard format. And when you choose that option, we're going to still curtail it to your needs, and we're going to still match it to your wants and desires, but it's going to be a more basic model. Rolling off the lot, we're building a Ford, but we're building the best Ford we can build for you, versus coming in and building a high component, high level, high control trust, which is still available, but maybe when that comes off the lot, it's a Jaguar, and it's the best Jaguar for you. So depending on what you want, what you need, we've really tried to make that price barrier go away. And so that's always an option. You can check that out at the website. And so the main points that I wanted to talk about today is we never know when things will turn for us, for the better, for the worse. In 2015, my road looked bleak. And then suddenly I was able to turn things around. But just as easy as it went the way that it did for me, it could have gone the other way. So trust planning and estate planning is always a critical piece in our financial planning. We need to make time for these things. I saw that Rob Hutton was on earlier. He's a local financial planner. If you haven't gotten to know him, I would really recommend talking with him as well. And Jordan Palmer's on now, and same recommendation. Talk to the folks that know these things. And next week, I think we'll dive deeper into what a trust can actually do for your family, and what really, when you feel like I don't have enough or it's too much, we'll talk about the things that keep us from getting a trust and maybe some of the reasons why you'd want it, besides avoiding that whole probate issue. So thanks for joining today. Again, if you're watching this replay on YouTube, you can subscribe and join and follow us. The YouTube link is it's a bit.ly link, Dare to Dream Bigger. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.